on one side, you'll see the Sky pick on the other.
Right.
And, you know, it does work out very well. Sky, especially when given in the right hands, is able to use that mobility and just using that Surrey Strike to get into way better positioning than intended.
Alright, Carl the Meek here securing Black Feather once again. If he plays is that's the other question, of course. E36 having a strong performance on Finn. I liked his Finn actually. I think early game it was a real big deal for TSM to get hold of it. You know, his Cribble and the stuff was way on point. So he is picking that again, and maybe listening right now, which is very unlikely since we are on a little bit of delay. So upon the original, what do we see in the lane?
Well, what I feel right here is that you do have this Finn coming on your end, but you are going up against two very evasive heroes coming out of Team SoloMid. So using that correctly and just timing out exactly when to use the Force Accord instead of trying to initiate with the Force Accord is something that I do hope E36 is able to do this match.
Okay, explain to me that comp.
So you do see this buff composition coming out of Liberation X, and it works very well. You have Gap Closer in Glaive, and so once Glaive after burns in, he gets that heal, he gets that buff, he'll punt somebody away from the team fight, and everybody will focus on one person where he can delete them actually fairly quickly.
Alright, Catherine is on the side from TSM. First time we are seeing Catherine across the board. No one in Europe picked Catherine. No one in North America until that point picked Catherine. So quickly, before we jump into that game, Catherine, I feel she is not picked that often right now.
Catherine is actually in a pretty good spot, but also very hard to make sure that she's able to have that aggressiveness that you want from her. Especially in this match, one thing that we have to do look out for Catherine is the way Flash X is able to use her ultimate as like the perfect CC before a team fight.
Alright, thank you very much, Rom. We are in the game here. Let's take a look at that with Tasty Bacon and Forecourt Jester.
Alright, thank you very much once again, Blueberries. And game number 2, this is where Liberation X will have to start their comeback. We've seen them do this multiple times. You know, this is a team that they do not get demoralized if they lose the first game of a series. We've seen them fight tooth and nail to come back from even larger deficits, you know, down 2 games in a best of 5, and we've seen them turn it around. So not a team that you can count out. They never beat themselves up mentally. They never get tilted, and it's we'll have to see, can they pull it off? They have the glaive in their court now this time. So Forecourt Jester, what do you think is going to have, like, is this the composition that will be able to turn this around for them?
Well, it's really going to come down to how well Catherine is used. Like, if you can just ignore her, totally fine. The 2v3 situation might actually pay off very nicely, especially if the buff comp on top of Status Baked can actually, like, get into that back. If they can eliminate Mixi, just like what we saw with Noble Esports eliminating T-Tigers just repeatedly, then it will work out extremely well. The big thing to me is, you know, how well will Flash X actually perform on this Catherine? Because as it was mentioned, she's not a very popular pick. Not only in 116, but 117. This was really the big rise of, well, maybe not Arden, because Arden's just always been that stable, but we saw so many more Adagios and Fortresses than we ever did see Catherine. So to me, it's a little bit of a wild card to see what Flash X can do with it.
Yeah, and, you know, on a personal level, I have to wonder if Flash X is doing this intentionally because he knows that I'm here in another event I was casting. I had made comments about how, you know, Arden and Fortress are by far his 2 most played and best heroes, and he took a little bit of offense to that in the chat afterwards, talking about how apparently he thought I had said that he only can play those 2 heroes. So maybe he's trying to prove something to me personally. I highly doubt it, but it's fun to fun to think that someone might be that petty. But so I think it's just, it works pretty well into this composition of, you know, the AoE damage of the burn from Adagio. You know, when you get that Stormguard shield up, it can get some nice damage returned, and you can also get in and interrupt that Burst of Judgment when it does come down. So there are definitely some big strengths to Catherine coming out, but right now it is Liberation X definitely being the aggressors here.
So already we had one Afterburn go in and Flash X. I mean, he saw it, he predicted, he immediately stunned that Glaive. We're going to have to see more and more of that if we can defeat those kind of engages so that the afterburn and the knockback doesn't actually really pay off, as Mixi just takes a ton of damage there, then Flash X on this Catherine is just going to lead this team to victory. Because, yeah, good luck trying to take Cole the Meek out a little bit later on, especially after your team is split and that afterburn is not going to be separating out TSM.
Yeah, we saw just how difficult it was for Liberation X to take down Cole the Meek in game number 1 on this Black Feather, and it's not going to be any easier here in game number 2. So they really need to try and focus their attention on shutting him down early so that he can't get to that obnoxious late game Black Feather that can, almost 1v3 an entire team with ease. Right now, Mixi, I'm liking this build of triple crystal bits. It just gets you so much damage early on. We'll see if he can showcase some of it here with a forward barrage. He's holding it for now.
Yeah, I was looking for it there as well. I mean, he even just threw the boots just to get into that other bush, but not entirely too sure why. But now they've overextended. Cole the Meeks is going to take a bit of a dirt nap right there, and that is what Status Baked really wants to do. I mean, this guy knows Glaive in and out. He's one of those bigger Glaive names when it comes to mind. Like him and Gabe Vizzle, at least for me, are kind of like those top 2, top 3 names that I associate with. But that felt a little definitely janky from TSM.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit more old school in that I go back to the first season or 2 of VIPL, and Cole the Meek is the really big Glaive name. But right now, Pon the Original doing some work on to Flash X, but Flash X gets that heal coming out and is able to stay alive and kite around long enough. And that's one of the difficult. Oh, but here comes Status Bake to clean up. Will he get both kills? Mixi doing what he can to stay alive, but that last attack is going to be enough to secure it. So a nice pickup there by Status Baked on this Glaive. But yeah, Cole the Meek was, his nickname used to be Cole the Glaive, because if you didn't ban Glaive against, this was when he was on Gangstars, then you lost. That was just how it worked. And so it's really actually exciting. One of those kind of sub-stories to see Status Baked now playing it against Cole the Meek, although Cole the Meek has kind of moved away from that hero.
Well, the game has changed over time, Bacon. I mean, I think we came in like, what, 111, 112, now it's 117. Like, the meta has definitely evolved, and heroes come and go. But, yeah, hey, this is the Glaive patch, you're going to see more legends created before your very eyes. So, Flash, I think he did a really good job there with that bait and switch, but did kind of underestimate Status Baked with that cleanup. So 3-1, Liberation X, very similar to what we saw in game number 1. Some good early pressure being applied here as well, consistently bringing TSM up to the lane so that we can do some of this counter. Unfortunately, Mixi, though, running for his life from Status.
Yeah, but meanwhile, up in the lane as well, there's a 2-on-2 skirmish, and Pon the Original is going to be taken down. Flash X and Cole the Meek, again, the damage is not there. They're able to stay alive so well. That Fountain of Renewal keeping both of them topped off. Mixi just stealing away these back camps as Status continues to chase him down. Does catch him, but Mixi got that double camp, so he's not all for naught as he dies with at least a purpose. And back up to the lane, there's fighting going on pretty much constantly over the last couple minutes on multiple different fronts. Does finally subside though.
Yeah, but Liberation X, like, they were very split, so was TSM, and by the time everything is just said and done, they did trade it out 1-1, but again, like, the farm in the lane, that was really pushed up under the turret, and E36, this early on with Finn, he's not going to have the best in terms of those last hits. He did pick up a few, but the more that they can try to deny Pon the Original that farm, the better, of course, they'll be off a little bit later on. So Flash X does pick up the level 6. We're still waiting for that forced accord here from E36. Oh, that stun. Unfortunately, not going to be what they were looking for. But Cole the Meek, you got to get out of this one, and you might even have to burn a Rose Offensive here.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to mind if he does have to burn that Rose Offensive. Flash X actually going in aggressively. Takes a pretty good chunk of damage thanks to Pon the Original with that Adagio. But a beautiful forced accord followed by an afterburn, but thanks to that Fountain of Renewal, Flash X is able to keep Cole the Meek alive yet again. Mixi had rotated back in as well, but a little bit too late as Liberation had already backed away. But my goodness, that was so close to a kill. Mixi, what a reflex block Team SoloMid is on fire with their reactions and activated items right now. And now Status Baked, he's a little bit on his own, but here comes the rest of the collapse. The Afterburn going in is going to put Mixi in the wall, and that's going to be a 1-for-1, as they did also pick up the kill on Pawn the original. The fight is continuing. Status Baked doing what he can. Is going to take down Cold Meek on that glaive. Flash X is still at full HP, and with that Storm Guard up, they don't want to continue attacking him because Status is getting awfully low. So a 2-for-1 in favor of Liberation as they now clean up those lane minions and go for an invade.
Well, I mean, hey, if you got that momentum, you might as well use it. And again, TSM very kind of split up. Mixi wasn't even there for the whole big, anchor attempt at the kills, but he did actually clean up some of the backs. So Mixi's farm is actually doing rather phenomenal. 62 compared to the 51 there of Status Bake, but Status is sitting at 5-0-1, 100% kill participation. 5 of those last hits for the kills going into his bank as well. So he's level 10. He's doing actually rather phenomenal. The problem for TSM, however, is again, like, they're kind of juggling, but they're not juggling very well here. They need to come to the forecourt school of juggling, but it's not over per se. The gold very even, and I don't think they're going to be too phased out about this one. They just need to clean up the play a little bit and start building up some what I think is going to be armor here for the late game.
Yeah, and we are going to see another fight break out. Cold Meek using that Rose Fence to escape, but he gets pulled right back in. And now E36 and the rest of Liberation are trying to take him down. But again, that Fountain of Renewal has saved Cold Meek's life about 4 times already this game, I think. And Flash X just absolutely on point with those reactions.
Reflex blocks, armor, and a little bit of fountain. It's really coming together. Flash X so far has been very much on point with those blast hammers, with those fountains. Are they gonna go for the
steal?
They definitely are.
Surrey strike. Oh, and it's Flash X that gets it. Mixi is gonna pay for it, but I think Team SoloMid are gonna be perfectly fine trading a single kill for a gold payout. That was
300 each versus like
the
what?
Fact that
100 something.
Flash X was the one that stole it. I thought for sure it was gonna. If anyone was gonna steal it, it was gonna be that Surrey strike from Mixi. But
it's the old bait and switch. You know, hey, over here, and then you just take the wallet with the other hand. That's exactly what happened. It's just like they distracted them. They thought it was gonna be the sky. Flash X comes in, gets the hit, gets the money. So again, like TSM, they're definitely not out of this one despite those kills. They're actually ahead in gold now because of that steal. And as time goes on, if they can actually pick up some armor and look into a Crucible, and actually they already have that Crucible, it's going to be a Crucible over a Warhorn for Flash X. Then the fact that we have E36 for the pull and Status Bake for the punch, we can actually block all of that.
Yeah, and not to mention again that Verse of Judgment, a nice silence coming out with the Death from Bump. It's going to stun Pawn the original and take him down. Status Bake now trying to get in, keeping Flash X underneath the turret. He's taking a lot of damage. Not going to be enough though. Fountain is going to be popped as they get the kill on to Status Bake, and now it's just E36. And just like in game number 1, Team SoloMid, they have a lead despite being down in kills, and it's just like they suddenly turned things on. And, for E36, just the nature of being a Finn, frequently ending up being the last member of the team alive with really nothing to do. A Death from Above doesn't quite catch Pawn, but it doesn't matter. The damage is there. The turret is doing a ton of work, though, and Flash X will fall. Mixi goes down as well to Status Bake's glaive. Status Bake now potentially going to try and chase down Cold Meek, but that's a Black Feather. It's going to be so difficult. He gets a lot of damage with that Afterburn. Cold Meek doesn't have a Rose Offensive available, and that is an ace picked up by Liberation X, almost soloed by Status Bake.
I would go a long way to say that, yeah, the cleanup crew was very strong. Status Bake is sitting at 9-1-1. One death, which did just happen, and then, 9 of the 10 kills into his pocket with another assist just for bonus points. And he is level 12. If you looked at Cold Meek, he was only 10. So Status Bake playing absolutely out of his mind. The problem is the team is just unfortunately not able to really keep up with him. So Pawn the original, 1-5. E36 might only be 0-1, but he hasn't really been a huge contributor to a lot of these fights. The anchors have been okay. I haven't really seen like that game-changing one simply because they keep getting defeated, not only by fountains, but by shields, reflexes, crucibles. Now, like in that team fight, there was not an activatable left standing from TSM. They used everything pretty much out to perfection, and now they're going to try to sneak in this gold.
Yeah, here comes Liberation looking for a steal. A is going to be Team SoloMid just backing off. They don't seem to want to fight, even though
We're
they
scared.
feel like they should be ahead. They've been winning fights pretty well. Status Big going with that afterburn. Mixi going to immediately use that Surrey strike out, and a death from above catches two. The burst of judgment gets blocked, so there will be no stuns from that. Another attempt on Pawn the Original's life is unsuccessful, but he is now completely out of this fight. It's a 3-on-2. E36, despite being Finn, is the first and only one to go down here, but this will be another gold mine picked up by Team SoloMid. And I have to say, it's really surprising to me that LivX and especially Status Big is doing so extremely well, because he's actually pretty far behind. If you look at the items, you look at the farm, there's 2 tier 3 items completed for every single member of Team SoloMid, and he still only has a single tier 3 at the moment. So it's pretty drastic how far behind he actually is in terms of item build, and yet he's still 9-1 and able to output so much damage. So really making the most of what he's got.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be scared of Status Baked as well, because he's really, he's put the team on his shoulders, and he's been making a lot of these plays. But the plays are just coming out slightly better here for TSM. Very beginning of that fight, we had a blast tremor right after that afterburn, which is why we didn't see a huge amount of capitalization from Liberation X. And then as soon as the stun was out, Pawn the Original said, oh, you can't actually stop a verse, and then it got crucibled. So, TSM is reading these guys so well.
Yeah, absolutely, but it looks like there might be another fight. Another death from above is just doing work onto Status and E36. Now Status is going to be solo, so is Cole the Meek, but again, the Black Feather and the Fountain just working in perfect harmony. Mixi drops the low, but it's just juking around with that Surrey strike. That is just, it's so frustrating to play against, when there's plays coming out like that. Another ace for Team SoloMid, and they now have the kill lead and the gold lead going over in their favor. Kraken is being taken down solo by Flash X, while Mixi pushes the lane and Cole the Meek goes and takes away the jungle and the minion mines. A really good play there. It's so incredibly smart just to split up your resources after you get a big ace like that, so that you can get multiple objectives taken care of before the enemy team has even respawned.
And that's why you see 3,000 gold between them. But again, the plays are really good from Liberation X. They are kind of, they're very much in tandem with each other. They're making this happen, but it's almost like split second ahead. We got some kind of foresight, and TSM said, oh, they're about to do this. Then it happens, and they already had the counter ready to go. Again, the Blast Tremor, stopping some of that aggression early on. Pawn the Original with the verse gets blocked, and the defensive cooldowns coming out is keeping TSM alive just so much longer than Liberation X, because they are behind in that gold. They're behind in those items, and, well, one turret went down just before Kraken. We'll have to see if this will finish things off with another 4-turret sweep.
Yeah, and that's exactly what TSM is looking for. Flash X taking pretty low, as there was a lot of damage going on to him, but of course, again, we've seen everyone from Team SoloMid get dropped low. The Force the Core doesn't quite connect, but the death from above does. Pawn the Original is just melted, and now the Fountain is keeping Mixi alive by a sliver. Oh my goodness. How close
he goes back in. Wow.
do you have to get that? They're not dead until they're dead.
Finally.
It's finally going. It sounds silly to say, but it has completely held true. There were so many times we saw members of Team SoloMid at just a sliver of health and being able to survive, and that was no exception as Team SoloMid goes and takes this one 2-0. I mean, looking at the scoreboard, you almost wouldn't even think that's how the game ended. Status Fix is 10-2.
No,
on a losing effort.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking when that does happen. He had the items, unfortunately, he just didn't really have the comp or the team play. The buffs worked out. Status Big, I mean, a lot of why he was able to get so far ahead so early is because of his teammates. Now, we set it up with E36, the Warhorns, the Force Accords, the Fortified Health, everything. And then Pawn the Original coming in, not only with an alternating current for a little bit of his own damage, but then the buff factor was, just insane. And that's how Status Big got almost a 2-level lead over TSM. But the combined efforts of the group now, under the TSM flag was just so very much on point. The communication was absolutely insane. You could see we got double Aegis there. for those verses. We have that Crucible for, just in case another verse. The Afterburns were defeated pretty much instantly in the last 3 fights of the game. And Flash X, like we said it, there's not a lot of Catherine play here in 116, in 117, but the Blast Tremors and the stuns were just absolutely fantastic. Those fountains, you saw Mixie at the end just not dropping whatsoever. It was a treat to watch.
Yeah, really well played. Just all around from Team SoloMid. And again, credit to Liberation. They were winning the early game. They won the early game consistently. But this is the story of Team SoloMid. We talk about it all the time with this team. They frequently do fall behind early, and then they keep the game close enough so that when a mistake is made by their opponents, they just capitalize on it, and all of a sudden the game is just completely flipped on its head. That is the TSM play style, and it is a tried and true method. It has worked for them in the past, and it is very clearly still working for them now.
Status Baked died once early after Coldemate picked up a light armor, and then he died again after Coldemate got himself an Atlas Pauldron. Like, it was kind of just after that, there was a point of no return. And TSM 2-0, they remain undefeated into the semis, which I believe are going to be tomorrow. And these guys are just looking absolutely strong with Gangstars in VIPL. It's not really, I think, unexpected at this point.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, going into this season, I think everyone